Welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you leverage strategic project management so you can achieve your goals. Now, here's your host, Fola Alabi.
Hello and welcome to the Strategic Project Leader, where we help you go further faster in business and beyond. Go from project manager to C-suite. That's right. You can actually move up in the corporate ladder and become your best self. We're coming at you live from the Strategic Project Leader Studio in Calgary, Alberta. I am your host, Fola Alabi, your business and transformational leadership expert. I'm all about leveraging my superpower, strategic project management. It's all about helping you go further. And that's why I'm so excited today, because today is really special, because we're going to be talking about how you can actually scale your career, but beyond just execution, beyond just thinking about time, scope and budget, to some other elements that are absolutely critical that can help you get that done and move up. We want to dive into business strategy, risk, and time management. I call that BRT, as project managers to gain the competitive advantage. Today, I have with me a woman, a great woman for that matter, right? She's the founder of WomenIN, and she's the president of PMI SAC, our local chapter here in Calgary. And she's a consultant helping us in the city of Calgary do greater, better projects as well. Without any further ado, I just cannot wait to welcome Candida Tocci. How are you doing today, ma'am?
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. I'm wonderful. Thank you.
Fantastic. Great to have you today. This has been long coming. We've been looking forward to this show for such a long time, being in the city and with all the great projects actually going on as well, and towards the end of the year. So why don't we just dive in? When we think about projects and we're thinking about how we're planning for 2023, how can we really gain that competitive advantage, Candida?
Oh, as we all know, we are just living in times of, transition. I think both personally for some of us and just how we do, the way we work. And so the new project manager has to deal with a lot of change in such a fast pace. And I'm so excited to be here, because that's what we really want to talk about. You're so correct. It is beyond the triple constraint. Project managers are being pulled in earlier and earlier into projects. So we have to know what that strategic business element is. How do we align with the corporate priorities? What is the corporate strategy? And so for us, as being the project leaders in so many projects, and for the most part, really complex projects, we really need to understand that front end. What is the value? We are moving from a value a project delivery to a value-based project delivery. So that value is really being looked at, and how we're defining it. It's extremely important.
Absolutely. You hit some very, very great points. When we think about projects today, a lot of the time we feel, how do I deliver, within budgets? How do I, look at my scope and do that and get that done? And how do I do that on time? But we are dealing with times that things are extremely complex. Organization is actually changing rapidly. Customer needs are changing as well. We need to become strategic. We need to move away from just being so tactical to even look at the bigger picture. And when we actually look at that, there's so many ways we can actually get that done. And when I look at, for instance, you work for, our great city, and there's so many projects, different priorities. How are you able to keep all those balls in the air? I know we're going to dive into time management and risk, though. How exactly can we continuously deliver value and be seen as that value add when it comes to project delivery?
Oh, the value add that we have to really look at is that we always have to keep asking and measuring against, what does success look like? What does success look like for your projects? And what are we measuring against with that? And like you said, we are going to talk about, risks. So how are you looking at risk? How are you mitigating that risk and those risk responses? So honestly, with projects, it's really making sure that you're using those tools, those great tools that the project management framework gives you. And that if you are really aligning things and it's that monitoring and controlling, right? And the great thing about that whole aspect of monitoring and controlling is that you do that right from the offset. And so when you are working as to, oh, is this a project? I mean, that's the first thing. And then when you are assigned and you have that authority to be the project manager for this project, then that's when you're really aligning everything and making sure that you have that understanding of what that ROI is, right? We always look at that benefits realization. And, and again, we're being pulled earlier and earlier into projects to look at that. It's not that one-way communication anymore. Here's my project. Here's my project schedule. I'm on time. I'm on budget. It's way beyond. It's so many more balls in the air. And a smaller project that you thought, oh, this is, we've done this so many times, because of so many changes and so many different things out there now, it's become complex.
I know. When I actually mentor a lot of project managers, and we talk about how exactly can I land that role of a project director, or how can I, scale up the corporate ladder? And they kind of say, I know I'm delivering my projects really well. My projects are going well. When it comes to my schedule, my scope, I always deliver to those, to triple constraints. How can we start getting project managers to start thinking like strategic project leaders, where they bring business strategy into play? And I want to break this down a little bit further. We think about organizations, right? We're in business to probably make more money, reduce risks, ensure that we are, in check of all regulatory requirements. And we think about the city of Calgary, for instance, there's so many things we're trying to do. There are different goals that we're trying to meet. How can we ensure that project managers begin to understand that beyond your project, business strategy is like the overarching piece that brings projects to actually deliver on them? How can we be sure that people really understand why we're even in business in the first place? Because once you don't understand the number one piece, the key drivers, you may just be working on a project that maybe doesn't even add any value and maybe stopped at some point during that project life cycle. So in order to really scale and move up the corporate ladder, we need to be sure that we add in strategic value. So how can we keep checking to be sure that, okay, now I think I'm doing this. This really is so important, and this is going to add X amount to the bottom line. So what strategy have you leveraged throughout your career to make sure that you're always relevant?
That's such an excellent question, because the great thing about PMI, the Project Management Institute, they're always striving for exactly that. And we see it now in the Pin Box 7. So those of you that know Project Management Institute, I call it the Bible book, is our Pin Box, which is the project management body of knowledge book. And so the 7th edition is really focused on that. It's about people. And it's about how we're delivering that value to people. And it's knowing your stakeholders. So people are becoming just so more important in how we deliver this project, like how we know the stakeholders, what is relevant to a company, and really knowing that we are delivering what this customer is going to find that is the right need. It's not a project of saying, well, this was what our scope was, and we delivered what we said we were going to deliver, but is the customer really happy? Is the client really happy? Is the organization really happy? So it's really giving that, value to that. And PMI is very good. We talk about principles, and principles are bigger now. It's what's the integrity of the company? What are those, legislations we have to hear? Like you said, I work for the city of Calgary. That's a public company, right? We have to make sure, we've got taxpayers, we've got, legislations and regulations and bylaws and, more bylaws, right? That we have to look into, right? So it's really looking at that project and bringing it up to that next level of how it fits within the organization and the community as a whole.
That's really cool. We think about the organization. You spoke about the different bylaws and legislation that are actually out there. The business strategy is like the master plan. Organizations have a plan. As we go into 2023, for instance, I've had to help organizations plan for the next year and have that proper look ahead. When the plan is put in place to say, for instance, a goal might be, to expand to new markets, or they want to become maybe like the top player when it comes to technology. It could be anything depending on the industry you're actually serving. But how exactly, is your project tied back to that? So I want, you listening today to think about it, to say, if you're just an IT project manager who you're looking at technology upgrades, or you may just be an environmental specialist who feels that I just need to ensure that we are sustainable. It's all about ESG and all the pieces that we had together. How can we have, the right governance and piece around that? But how exactly is the value that I bring in every single day at work? How does that tie into the master plan? How am I sure that every element of what I'm actually delivering will help move the needle for the organization? Because it goes beyond now just the fact that, yes, I think I'm doing my piece. What kind of communication? Candida just mentioned that about people who are like the other, people in operations, all the project managers and all the program managers who are actually working, alongside with you. What are the dependencies, right? Mm-hmm. What are the projects that actually affect your project or even the overall organization? What are the regulations that are in the pipeline that could do that as well? So I know you mentioned PMI. That's a great resource. We talk about the global player when it comes to project management. What else can PMs tap into that they can leverage? What other resources can help them stay ahead of the curve to ensure they're actually successful, Candida?
Oh, power skills is what is defined. It's not about soft skills anymore. And you talk about power skills, right? And your superpower. That is, as much as we find that fun, it really is important because, we're all coming in with, like I said, we're finding, some of us are in transition. Some of us are trying to really find our way in this new world. So, when you're dealing, especially with your project team, how do they become more engaged? How do they become more motivated to deliver what we need to deliver? And, that comes with, superpowers or power skills of communication. Communication is always been important and will always be important because it's how do we communicate? We have to communicate much more now with empathy, with listening, with really, listening to understand what everyone is coming in with. So I think that power that you have on understanding people is probably one of the important things right now, just to kind of take a step back and saying, okay, people need a little bit more on how they need to deliver things when change is so fast, when everything is just coming at us at every direction. So us as project leaders, we have to make sure that we have that skill on how we also guide a project team to deliver.
We touched on, the superpowers in communication. It's one that we cannot, overemphasize because, when we talk about trying to deliver value, I say you could have the greatest ideas, you could have like the greatest plan. If you cannot communicate the value of it, it's as good as having nothing. So how can we actually harness our communication skills? What can we do to improve on that? At times people kind of talk too much or talk too little. How have you been able to get that balance to say, I think this is like the optimal way for me to like share my ideas? When should I actually not even speak at all? When should I, even listen more? How are you able to get those cues and what has actually helped you? That what people can actually leverage?
Oh, absolutely. And, I think the other sort of, power skill is we all have to become more of these super facilitators. It's about facilitating that focused conversation, especially when it's critical times to get things done. And so I look at, when you start opening up your team discussions, making sure that you've got that clear agenda, making sure that expectations are there. For me, again, I work in a public sector where I have to open up my sessions with asking permission, right? To use certain words, to make sure that everybody's inclusive, to, understand how we set the tone in order to ensure that we get the information and we get, the work done, but that everybody feels they're adding that value and they're heard and they get valued. I'm finding that that is more and more important now than ever.
Goodness, we can't even talk about that even more, especially even in the public sector now. There's so many pieces around being politically correct, and you have to just be sure that people are comfortable, right? Your stakeholders have to be embraced into your ideas, and just being able to even lead with empathy, just to say fine, whatever it is, I hear you, whatever that is. If we need to change or talk about things differently, just being open to learn. I think a learning mindset is another power skill that every leader needs to have, every project manager, because no one actually has a silver bullet. No matter how much experience you bring, there's always something new you can actually learn. Having, that open mind to say, okay, yes, we're on this project, things may not be going according to plan, or the regulation can actually be changing. What is new out there? What can I learn? And I start this off a team meetings, right? To say, what's really going well? What else is new? Where have I actually, missed things a little bit? How can we change? What can we do differently? So how have you been able to embrace that learning mindset, and how can people leverage that?
Yeah, and I think, the mindset really, again, has to be where knowing your stakeholders, right? Because that's what project management is. It's who's invested in this project, who's got the influence of this project, who can impact it. Negatively is where we first go to, but there's a lot of stakeholders that have that positive effect to your project, and and how everybody really looks at things, right? I mean, us, you've got introverts and extroverts, you've got people that are more audio, right? I hear what you're saying, to people that's are visual, where, oh, I see what you're talking about, and then the tactical, right? It's just, tell me what I need to get done. I'm the doer here, right? So and how they create that mindset so that they understand where this project is going, and so that they have that invested interest in it. And we all have to be part of it. I've got my tag at the end of my signature. We won't get anywhere if we don't go there together, right? So so how do we get everybody to get there together? And again, so everybody comes in with so much knowledge and understanding, and we have to hone in on that. If we start saying, oh, I don't think that's right, or you shut things down, you're not actively listening, because then we can get into the discussion about risk, right? That's where you really identify all those risks right off the bat. You're working proactively instead of reactively, because you don't want them to happen, right? Because we all know the rework that it takes to when a risk happens. But it's really understanding that, oh, we've been there, and listening to that.
Listening is one piece. I know we call it one power skill. It's like a superpower, because, in leadership, in projects, in business, in entrepreneurship, it's one that everyone needs to hone. And I want to encourage people actually listening is, no matter how much you feel you already know, it's an area that you need to continuously develop. I just want to dive into some power skills again that I know as essential, that has helped me over the course of my career. You spoke about collaboration, communication, great decision making and problem solving. One piece that I think is extremely important is self-management. Self-management is one that you need to hone. You need to understand how exactly, because on projects and in business, things are always fast. Things are always moving like 500 miles an hour. How can you manage yourself? I know that kind of ties into time management, because there's always going to be multiple constraints. You can't have it all. And how can we, harness the power of self-management? What tools do you use? Because I know you're a businesswoman, founding the WomenIN, you're leading the PMI Southern Alberta Chapter as well. You're doing lots of things within the community, helping the city of Calgary as well. How can we manage ourselves so we can continuously be peak performance and, not burn out, because we know that happens every single day.
Oh, yes. And I think this is where I'll probably plug in a little bit of WomenIN, and especially for us women, it's really about that self-care. You have to take care of yourself first, WomenIN within yourself first, and really looking at, okay, where am I physically? Where's my physical self-care? And you look at that. Where's my mental self-care? We are starting to see psychological safety. Right? That is a huge term these days. And it's true, like I said, everybody's coming in with so many different things that one, it's not about, leave your home life at the door when you're at work. It's not that anymore. It's all together. And we have to manage it together because there's so many moving pieces to it. Like, how do you forget if you have a sick child or if you're taking care of your parents that are getting older, or that's part of our life, that's part of what we do, right? So we have to look at ourselves holistically as well, our mental, physical, and soul, right? Like and body and soul. And if we don't do that first, it's that oxygen mask concept. If we're not taking care of ourselves first, it's going to be hard to look at, okay, how do I manage this project, the best way that I can, and still know that I'm okay with family, I'm okay with this and myself at the end of it all.
Self-management is one that a lot of people, kind of put on the sideline. We want to grow, we want to scale in business, and there's always going to be different priorities. However, I've heard this over and over, that you cannot pour from an empty cup.
Right.
You cannot even lead when you're tired. You cannot lead when you're not, fully motivated. And I even see a role that us as leaders have to play with our teams, ensuring that we're checking on them, ensuring that, people may not even know how to just, compartmentalize. People may not even understand, how to stay focused. And for me, I have a master plan when it comes to like my work and my personal life. It's kind of fully integrated because, as you know, we cannot separate it. And, better time management has really helped me. That way I know exactly what needs to happen. Being able to prioritize what they call the big rocks, right? What are those things that are high impact and easy to achieve? Those are like the ones that you go to first thing in the morning, you get in there, you get those things done, it gives you the greatest bang for your buck. And what are those things as well that are high impact, maybe a little bit harder to achieve, and then you can actually touch on that before you go to the low impact items? Because a lot of the times we just have multiple to-do lists. We have like multiple priorities, and then people are getting burnt out. People are like, how exactly do I do this? I don't want to lose my job. But being able to prioritize what needs to get done, being able to understand what are those things that, make your organization tick? What are those things that are, key, that will help your project become more successful? That will help those overall bigger programs become more successful. Then you become a value add, and then you become seen as an invaluable asset, within the organization. Candida, let's dive in a little bit further. We know we spoke about risk. On projects, we know that there are always going to be different types of risk. And even bringing our personal life into play, things can happen and things could actually go wrong. How can we mitigate those risks that seem to be happening over and over and over again, on our projects?
Yeah. So this is where it's really important, with your team. One, I love the term historical data. We keep doing, when I do lessons learned, for the big projects within the city, I can almost come in and saying, okay, this is what you're going to talk about on the communication. You're going to talk on So we have these lessons learned, but us as just the nature of how we work and do things, we never go back to that. We never go and say, let me go and grab that last lessons learned on a project like this. Let me go look at it. We always kind of start first. And kudos to the people that actually go back and get their lessons learned from previous projects, because that's a wealth of information. Like, that's golden. So just really looking at what's happened in the past, and so that we don't keep doing it, but really kind of looking at, right from the beginning, like, that's another great thing. If you're looking at this framework, like, lessons learned don't have to be done at the end of the project. They can be done throughout. And it's really looking and doing that. Where are we at our current state, and where do we need to get to that desired state? And making sure that the roadmap you're building, it has those mechanisms that you're measuring against again. So looking at, identifying all the risks off, you're right from the get-go is extremely important. Putting those plans to that, risk response plans to them, whether you're going to mitigate, transfer, we have different types of response plans that we can use. And, even in your meetings, like, one of the things that I was doing in my status meetings is you would look at new business, you would look at your action item, your current status project, and then you'd look at your risk register. And we are beings that work within 90 days. If you look at my schedule in 90 days, it's jam-packed. Past that, you can book me, right? So we are in 90 days. So look at your risks in 90 days. Are those still, your high risks that you have to look at? Are there risks that you have in your watch list that you think, oh, they're not really going to happen, but oh, wait a second, there's a storm brewing? Or how many of us, before the 2013 flood had, flood low risk, right? And now it's up there if you're having a project around June. So those are the different things that you can use to really making sure that you understand the risks that, are happening. And, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about project management, because it's really a decision-making theory. Right? We make decisions the minute we wake up. Are we going to have coffee? Are we going to have cereal? Are we going to take the car? Are we going to take the bus? Like, we're always, and what we're doing is we're measuring against a risk, right? Like, am I going to be late? Am I going to be on time? Is that, is that too expensive? So that's what your risks are, right? Is that decision making, making sure you're making the best decisions you can with what you have.
That's right. If people who pretty much just like, oh, we talk about risk and stuff, could that actually just be bad? Because risk, it's anything that has a probability of actually impacting your project, your life, your business, whatever that is. However, there's a positive spin to that, because you can actually capitalize on it, where you can leverage just in case, oh, there's a risk that something could actually happen. How can I turn that into something great? Maybe there may be like a new regulation, or you hear that another competition is actually coming out. Can I go and collaborate with them? Can we go and create something together? There's so many ways we need to start thinking bigger than it's just going to be a problem. And to Candida's point, we talked about making decisions every day. That decision-making process that you do, because life in and of itself is one big project.
Yeah.
We want to achieve goals. We've got needed change. All these pieces come together. Before we tie back, into that, I want to know, what time management strategies do you actually use?
Oh, I love that. I just love that. So time management includes that self-care, right? You have to take time for yourself. Like, what do you do in the morning before you get to work, right? Because we all know, like, if something sets off right at the morning, everybody else is going to get it. Hopefully it doesn't happen too drastically, but, like different ways you're at, and we talk about behaviors and attitudes, right? So what do you do in the morning to just make that conscious decision to say, okay, today I'm going to make sure that I engage my team more, and this is how I'm going to do it. And so it's really making sure you're taking your time for that, and then setting those priorities for the day. I love the 3 priority rule. What are the 3 things that you want to achieve for the day? And just really trying to stick to that. And then making sure that your time for work is X, and that you leave time in the end, especially in the evening. Wind down. Your body, your mind needs to wind down. Again, things are coming at us so fast, so many things. Prices are going high, gas is going high, and thank God gas is lowered a bit, right? And so, like, you think you've got all these things going on, and your mind is going and going. You need to take time to just really relax the mind so that you're ready for that next 3 priorities you have to tackle, right? So your time management is really making sure you're optimizing on the right things, doing the things that you need to get done at that time that's going to be effective.
That means it's time for the Strategic Project Leader Lifestyle. We've been talking about strategy, risk, time management. How can we leverage this in our personal life? How can we create that life we truly crave? I want to just hone in into the time management skills, because especially as we go into the end of the year, it's a time where everyone is just ramping up. You're taking stock as to what exactly did I want to achieve throughout 2022? Were you able to achieve that? The fact is, the fact that you are still here, it means that there's so much room for you to create something great. Think about how can we manage time, because time is just of the essence and we don't have an infinite factor of it. I want you to start, first of all, today with setting your goals. As you go into 2023, think about what are the things that you want to achieve in 2023. Set the goals and make sure they're smart. Make sure that you have those clear goals that will help you get to the level that you want. Is it moving up the corporate ladder? Is it even beginning to deliver projects seamlessly? Is it creating something bigger and something better? Watch out for that and make sure that they're really, really specific. I want you to dive in even deeper. When you think about all these great ideas and the goals that you have, I want you to prioritize. I want you to think about what are those things that will give you the greatest bang for your buck. I said initially that you think about the greatest impact, easier to achieve, greatest impact, even a bit harder to achieve before you go to the lowest impact easy to achieve. But you need to prioritize what are those things that will push you further into financial freedom. Is it getting the better job? Is it all about creating anything greater you've obviously wanted? You need to think about, do you need people to do that? But you need to prioritize as the next step. The next piece, we spoke about self-management, being self-aware. What are your blind spots? What are those things that, you never thought about? I just taught a course and I explained the B SWOT. Not just a SWOT analysis. You need to think about your blind spots, your strengths, your weaknesses, your threats and opportunities. What are those things that you not even know, the unconscious biases you've always had? Those pieces may be limiting you from achieving your goals and moving up the corporate ladder. I'm going to leave it with the last one, is being self-motivated. Because at the end of the day, believe it or not, life is not going to be perfect. The organization will never be perfect. You will not have that perfect boss you've always wanted. It's all about you. You need to be self-motivated. You need to think about, what do I really want to achieve? You need to think about, how am I going to get there? You need to think about, what are the things that actually I need to strive for? What else can I do differently? Because at the end of the day, it's up to you. No other leader, no mentor, no one can actually push you, because you have to, at your core, formulate those goals, work at it every single day. And believe it or not, as long as you do not give up, you will definitely achieve exactly what you set out to do. Candida, how exactly can we leverage this as well in our personal life?
Oh, I think that, there's so much support. I call it community. I did the opening for our professional development conference, and my theme was community. How do you build your community? Everybody has different, things like, how does the single mom trying to raise 3 kids, what's her community? How do they define that? And it's really building that community. PMI Southern Alberta Chapter, we're a community. You can leverage the best passionate type of project leaders you want to be, and just building that network, that support, lift you up, carry you when you're down, reignite you, because it is not, we have to do it together.
We have to do it together. I say together to us today so we can create a better tomorrow. It's not, the better time to change and to make something kick off is right now. But you just spoke about community. We cannot overemphasize the beauty of having Candida next to me. I could just pick up the call. We're going to be having coffee next week. But just having people you can actually share, building that with like-minded people, right, who are going to help propel you to help you achieve your goals and do that with ease. My goodness, it's like we can go on and on and on, but I just want to say thank you so much, Candida, for being here today. I know we have to bring you back. There's so much to definitely unpack. But what would you say are your final words you want to leave us with today when we think about business strategy and risk and time management? How can we create a competitive advantage? What would you actually sum it all up, with just probably 3 strategies?
Oh, I think with especially the competitive edge is really ensuring that you understand first yourself. What are those skills that you think you still need to open it up? Be very open. Again, empathy is a big, big thing right now. So just really opening it up, and, align yourself, build that network, that community, with like mind of the people that you need to help you get there. Because, again, there's so much, and yet there's so many people with so much knowledge, and they want to give back. They do want to help. I cannot thank you so much, Fola. I just am so excited that I have met you, because this is exactly what we need to keep doing. We need to keep the conversations going, and know that, there's just so much great information out there that can help us all.
I know this is just the beginning for sure. Watch out for 2023. Great things are going to be unfolding as well when we talk about impacting others, supporting the community as well, and creating strategic project leaders. I want to say thank you, Candida, for coming and sharing your wealth of experience. Thank you for listening. And I trust you found value today. For everyone who's actually shared, put a comment. Let me know in the comments, which one strategy you're going to be taking to the next level. Is it going to be the power skills? We spoke about communication, self-management. How you can actually leverage time, how you can prioritize. There's just so many pieces you're going to be doing. And if you have any questions and you want to keep the conversation going, you want to learn about our training, leadership, mentorship, professional keynotes and workshops, please connect with us at strategicprojectleader.com. Above everything, I say this over and over. Life is a project, but you are the best project you can ever work on. Take action today. Execute right, because the life you crave is just one project away. Yes,
I love it.
The life you crave is just one project away. Take action. Same time, we're going to be taking a break. We're going to be coming back on January the 7th. We're going to be having an exclusive show. Watch my DMs. We have a special guest who's going to be joining us. He's going to be kicking off the new year for us. Live, strategic, tactical. This is definitely going to set a trajectory of your career. It's going to blow your mind. So follow, share. I cannot wait to see you on the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Have a good one. Bye-bye.